Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel before we get started. And I think that it's important before we actually dive into what I want to talk about today to address some of the hate surrounding my last video. And I admit it, I understand it. It was a very tone-deaf video. I put out the wrong idea. I'm not giving up on 2020. I never said that I was giving up on 2020. And it was just not the best video to put out. 2024 is 4 years away, and we are still in this fight. And there are more developments that I should have been talking about yesterday that I really didn't address, and it kind of was very off-putting. I really apologize for that. I will be donating all of the advertising revenue from that video to Donald Trump's legal defense team, because regardless of what big tech sets their guidelines for, we don't have to operate within their terms. Look, that's kind of what I was doing. I'm not going to play the game that they want me to play. That's what that video was, and I was wrong to cave into them. That's not what warriors do. Warriors do not cave. Warriors don't give up on this fight. If they take me down here, you know where to find me. I've got a Rumble right here. I've got a BitChute right here. Links are in the description. We'll resume the conversation there. The true patriots will follow. In the meantime, we have to talk about the 2020 election because certain states are sending dueling electors. And this could put Mike Pence in a very tough position because he could throw the election to the House. However, if he does that, the question is, will the establishment RINOs join the Trump cause and do the right thing? That's another scenario. That's why it looks a little bleak from a lot of people's views. But there's a chance, and it's a very decent chance, and it's a chance that we shouldn't be understating because there is a new hope out there. Regardless of what they want to say, a lot of Trump supporters are looking up to this new hope, and it's possible. But the problem is you'll have to go through the Republican establishment regardless of what Mike Pence does. If Mike Pence does something good, the Republican establishment in Congress will really determine the fate of the 2020 election when it comes to certifying the results from the Electoral College. And now you have Mitch McConnell, and we're going to talk about McConnell in a minute, but I wanted to first talk about my home state of Michigan because certain states did send dueling electors. However, the state of Michigan, Lee Chatfield did everything possible to make sure that that wouldn't happen. Illegally closing the Michigan state capitol and preventing the legislature from convening at the capitol, which would have led them to easily send their own electors in case something happens, which keeps Trump's legal challenges afloat until January 6th. This is shameful. The GOP establishment in our own state does not have the balls. Even the people that present themselves as pro-Trump, like Lee Chatfield, decided to turn his back on Donald Trump and to make sure that Donald Trump would not exactly have a chance at getting the electoral votes out of the state of Michigan, no matter what happens between now and January 6th. You see Lee Chatfield going behind the back of the people that put him into power, going behind the back of the Trump base, and that's what the GOP does. We need a GOP in the state of Michigan that's going to answer to the people, answer to the workers in Macomb, not the mega donors in Grand Rapids and Bloomfield Hills, because that's who they answer to right now. And the interests of them are vastly different from the interests of the majority of the people in the state of Michigan that voted for Donald Trump this election cycle. And it shows, and it shows. And Mitch McConnell represents a very pro-Trump state in Kentucky. But for some reason, he is the face of the GOP establishment. McConnell should have been primary this election cycle. I don't know where the Republican Party was, at least in terms of the grassroots efforts in the state of Kentucky, trying to primary Mitch McConnell. But you can see this here. Mitch McConnell, recognizing Biden as the president-elect, saying the Electoral College has spoken. So he's giving up. Mitch McConnell is giving up on the Republican Party. This is why people want to boycott Georgia. I'm not saying that I would myself, but there's a lot of Republicans out there that are angry because they understand that the establishment of the Republican Party does not represent their interests. And Mitch McConnell is the epitome of not representing the interests of the American people. He represents China's interests. Joe Biden represents China's interests. So if Biden does get inaugurated, Mitch McConnell cannot wait to work for Joe Biden, but he has to somewhat keep up the appearances with the Trump coalition. So he'll be friendly to Trump around election time. But right now, he'll turn his back on him. That's the way it works. And we know that Mitch McConnell is a disaster. He is an absolute traitor to the Republican base, especially in the state of Kentucky. And he knows that he's got 6 years left. He's probably going to be too old to run again. Therefore, he thinks he can get away with anything. He thinks he can get away with stabbing his own constituents in the back yet again, like he's been doing his whole entire career for another 6 more years before the GOP establishment decides who the next biggest swamp creature will be in the Senate to be the heir of Mitch McConnell in terms of the GOP leadership. That is if we do not do anything to oppose it. We need to elect in 2022. If there will be a 2022, we need to make sure that we elect senators who will vow to vote against McConnell in the leadership election that will be taking place. That's what we need to make sure moving forward, because we know that Mitch McConnell is partially why the GOP is so establishmentarian as it is, why they're allowing the mass immigration, why they're preventing any populist reforms to get done on the economic side, why they're shipping the jobs away. It's bipartisanship, faux bipartisanship. All he's been doing his entire Senate career has been screwing over the lives of middle Americans under the guise of bipartisanship at times when the Democrats engage in those activities with them, which they usually do. In fact, they're arguably worse when it comes to it, but that's beside the point. We know exactly where Mitch McConnell's energy lies. And in terms of Michigan, more about the state of Michigan, Paul Mitchell is disaffiliating from the Republican Party. Now, Mitchell's out the door. He did not run for re-election in 2020. And he represents a very right-wing populist district in Michigan's 10th. But Paul Mitchell is leaving the Republican Party because he has been called out on his nonsense too many times and is finally showing his true colors. And the one silver lining out of this whole electoral process is it showed who's real and it showed who's fake. And Paul Mitchell is absolutely one of those who is extremely fake. And we've seen that through the entire process of this election cycle. Paul Mitchell has been one of the people that has caved to the establishment over the past 4 years. He sided with AOC and Ilhan Omar when Donald Trump called them out on their nonsense in the summer of 2019. He voted for that resolution. That was a symbolic gesture against the president. He sided with the Democrats on that resolution. So we already knew who Paul Mitchell was, but today he finally showed his true colors, and he is a disgrace, and he will never be an office holder in the state of Michigan ever again as a result, because we know exactly where the interests of the GOP establishment are. They lie within the mega donors. This is what Donald Trump ran against in the 2016 primary, and he was very successful as a result. And moving forward, what we need to do is we need to elect people that actually represent the America First agenda, not people like Paul Mitchell that represent the America Last agenda, and not people like Mitch McConnell that represent the China First, America Last agenda, because that is what a lot of the people in our government are. Look at Eric Swalwell. Look at that situation going on right there. It's a bipartisan thing when it comes to screwing over the American worker. It's a bipartisan thing when it comes to foreign influence and mega donors. That's really where we're at right now. And it's not so much Republican and Democrat anymore as it is establishment and anti-establishment. And right now in this whole election process is really starting to show that yet again. So in terms of Mitch McConnell and in terms of the dueling electors that you see here, Mitch McConnell is urging Republicans not to contest the election results right here. So already Mitch McConnell, the leadership, is making sure that no matter what happens, Donald Trump is going to get screwed over. And this is why it's very important that we keep persuading the Republicans in Congress to actually do the right thing and not to answer to Mitch McConnell. And if they don't do what the people want, if they don't do what their own constituents want, they will be shafted, they will be kicked to the curb in 2022, and the GOP will have effectively been burned to the ground. It will be all but over, and you will see an actual, authentic conservative GOP rise in its place. And you're going to see that either way, no matter how they vote, because there's been a lot of people over the past couple of months that have been really showing their true colors, and we need to vacate House when it comes to the primaries in 2022. No matter what happens, even if Donald Trump somehow manages to win this election, we still need to clean house in 2022 in the primaries and get people that actually will stand up for the American people and for President Trump. And moving forward, it's important to understand that the GOP establishment is screwing themselves over, especially even when it comes to Georgia. They congratulated Biden in the past 24 hours. They came out against Snowden. They defended McConnell throughout this whole process because of the judges. A lot of those judges have screwed us over this election cycle. Acknowledged a Biden win, but still plans hearings for voter F-word. They denied a second stimulus check, and they torn apart the local Georgia and Arizona Republican parties, and as a result, they may have lost the Georgia runoff by their own incompetency. Mitch McConnell is screwing over the Republicans. If they're going to view McConnell as somebody who's just going to work for Biden and be a shill for Biden's own agenda, a lot of Republicans are just not going to care. Mitch McConnell wants to win in Georgia. He's going to have to back Donald Trump through this process. Loeffler's going to have to back Trump. Perdue's going to have to back Trump, even more so than they're doing right now. Would I vote in the Georgia runoff? Yeah, probably, because I don't want Kamala Harris breaking ties in the Senate. But are there voters who won't go out and vote for them because of this? Yes, the way they're acting right now, that is the way it is. So in terms of what's going to happen, we'll still have to wait and see. And it's going to be a very interesting next 3 weeks between now and January 6th. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media, become a member, donate to the Patreon, or subscribe. Star links in description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.